Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm kinda like a deaf princess, with all of this stuff and dress and makeup, and that is because Halloween is approaching. And this is why I decided I should probably make this video a little bit thematic. And of course, I was considering making a video about Halloween traditions in Norway, but then I came across with the fact that actually Norwegians are celebrating it more or less according to the American type of Halloween celebrations. So it wouldn't be so interesting to retell the stuff that you already know. And so I decided to make this video a little bit different. And we, my friends, are actually diving into some creepy pagan traditions coming from the country where I was born, Latvia. Yes, if you didn't know, I am actually coming from Latvia. Now check out the map, because still so many people do not know where it is. And I forgive you, but please check the map. So these are basically the traditions coming from the time when Christianity wasn't still introduced in Latvia. And I'm gonna tell you like the stuff that has now become folklore, and things are quite creepy, so stay tuned. And so the first thing I wanted to tell you is that Old Latvians, this is I think how I'm going to call them throughout this story, these are the Latvians who are sticking to pagan traditions. They believe that October is the month when the living can feel a very special bond with the dead souls, because they are actually coming and visiting them on the earth. So the culmination of the month of October was the October 28th, when most creepiest stuff were happening, and they had some really interesting traditions. So the month of October was called Verimot. And Verimot in translation in English would mean the time of the dead soul. Oh my god, why is it so active right now? Creeps me out. Okay, so Verimot could be translated as the month of the dead souls, and the date of 28th of October was called Veludiena, or the Day of the Dead Souls. So we can actually draw some parallels with the Halloween stuff that we are celebrating right now in October. So this means that even then people were feeling this special bond with dead souls during October. And it's ringing again. Freaky. This wasn't intended, this is not a trick. And so before we continue with the creepy traditions Latvians were actually doing, I wanted to introduce you to this very creepy character from Latvian folklore, and her name is Verimot. Verimot in translation in English would mean the mother of dead souls or spirits, and her main task was to bring the newly died person's soul to the other world, where all of the dead souls were living after the person had died. In the folklore, this lady called Verimot, or the mother of dead spirits, was portrayed somewhat like a witty woman. She was really cunning and not very nice, if I can say. And in many sources of Latvian pagan folklore, it was mentioned that this mother of dead souls was actually very happy about the fact that people are dying. And sometimes she was coming down to earth just to trick the people so that they die. And this means that she wasn't a very good woman. And now let's move to the creepy traditions pagan Latvians were actually doing to please the dead souls that were coming down to earth during the month of October. Why they were actually doing this stuff? Well, my friends, they believe that dead spirits actually were checking on them throughout the year, and they could make their wishes come true. And so they believe that during this month, when these souls are coming to earth, they must please them, say thank you for the stuff they were providing for them, and ask for some other stuff. And this is why they were doing these things. One of the first things I came across while doing the research was that they were actually making a huge feast for the dead souls. So for example, the whole household, they were involved into tidying and cleaning the house, making it very beautiful. The lady of the house was cooking the best dishes of the best ingredients, putting out the best drinks on the table. So they laid out the table with all of this good stuff. And then the master of the house went out. He made the carriage of horses and he went to the cemetery. And in the cemetery, when he was there, he opened the door of the cemetery so that the dead souls who had just woken up from the grave could easily come out of the cemetery and sat on the carriage. And then the master of the house kinda Ubered them to his own house so that they can enter his house and have this feast that had been prepared before. They also left a bowl of fresh water and clean towels because maybe the spirits wanted to wash themselves. They opened all of the windows, they opened the door so that maybe some other spirits who wanted could enter and join the feast. In the morning when they woke up, they went to check out what had happened during the night. And if somebody had eaten the food or drank the drinks they were leaving there, this meant that the spirits were enjoying the party, and that was a good sign. This means that all of the things they have been asking to these spirits will come true. If nobody had eaten the stuff they had left on the table, I think they were in trouble. But again, to debunk all of this stuff, I believe that the food in most cases was eaten by some kind of rats or animals or birds who just entered the house. But that's just me. I think I am very hard to convince that spirits actually came to every household in the old times in Latvia to eat some food. Then there is another thing. Some households didn't make this party, but they actually went to cemetery. They went by the grave of the dead person they wanted to please. They put out the tablecloth, put all the food and drinks, and then they sat there and they screamed for several times the name of this dead person. Then they left. They returned in the morning again to check if the dead soul had been feasting with the dishes and drinks they'd been presenting. And of course, if they had been eating, this means their wishes will come true. And again, I'm just debunking because if you put some food outside, I think some wild animals or stray animals would most probably eat it, but that's what Latvians believe in. Then I tried to understand if Latvians actually had some masking traditions, which is very common nowadays for Halloween. And then I came across with this fact that this month of October was very quiet. Some people even didn't work. They were avoiding parties, they weren't singing, they weren't dancing, they were very, very silent so that the spirits don't get angry. So it was quite the opposite of the Halloween that we are knowing and doing right now. But there is a masking tradition in the old Latvian pagan traditions. And usually it happens somewhere around the Christmas time. And I wanted to mention this because it's also quite creepy, because the masks are so creepy. So usually it happened like this. So a bunch of people during the Christmas time, they gathered and they made by themselves with their own hands these masks. And my friends, these are the creepiest ones, like the ones you've been seeing in horror movies that are related to some pagan stuff, like this, like really, really creepy. So they've been dressing up like different pagan gods and goddesses and animals like goats and bears and even like the mother of death. And so this bunch of people in these creepy masks were usually going from one house to another house, making a noise, singing, like beating the forks against the kettle, knocking on the door, and the people simply had to let them in, give them the best food, give them the best drinks, and make them satisfied. And if they were satisfied, this meant that their household will be blessed. And so these masked people went on to another house and did the same again. So that was the masking thing from Latvian pagan traditions. And again, it was all about getting the blessing. Yeah, quite weird, I know. But the masks, oh, I mean, I wouldn't let in a bunch of people dressed like that in my house. I would just simply freak out. I would most probably die from a heart attack. And at the end, I just wanted to say that, of course, all of these things I was telling to you is like Latvian pagan traditions. Nowadays, it's just the folklore that is kept by folklore enthusiasts in Latvia so that this can be passed on to another generations, and so that people like me could read about it and tell other people who are watching my channel. We are not so actually eager to celebrate Halloween also. It's more popular among young people who just are looking for another reason to dress up and celebrate, and kids who most probably are very eager to get some extra candies in their lives. Here in Norway, I think this tradition of celebrating Halloween is a lot more intense than in Latvia that I have used to see. So I'm pretty excited about this year's Halloween. I actually have an idea about how I will dress up, and I actually have an idea where I'm going to celebrate it, but we will see how it works out. So now guys, let me know what are your thoughts about these traditions. Maybe you have some creepy pagan traditions that are rooting in your country. I would be very happy to read about them in the comment section, and let me know what are your plans for costumes this year, and if you are even celebrating Halloween. Maybe you're not, and if not, why? Why? I hope you have a creepy Halloween. Stay safe, because you never know when
Some dead soul is visiting you.
Happy Halloween! See you next time! Woof!